branch. We do have an office right around the corner here. And Keith usually works out of there. Have another office up in Akron. Both of us, as well as another girl that's in our branch, came from an in-house lending company. Probably know who it is. At least some of you that know it.
The green, someone. Everybody know the colors.
But yeah, he came from Realty One and was doing that with what was it, First Ohio or?
Yeah, First Ohio.
Yeah. And I was with I went way back to Smite Kramer days and we were Assured Mortgage and stuff. And I was with Howard Hanna Mortgage about 19 and a half years. So we've been in the business. We know what you guys do to put deals together and
Keep them together.
and and you know how much work it takes and how important it is to work as a team to make your clients happy. I don't want to get too much into like our products and that sort of thing, but a little bit about the company. They were relatively new in Northeast Ohio. I was actually one of the first ones. You know, I was one of the first ones to kind of defect from Howard Hanna. Keith followed a little bit behind there, but the company's actually like very large. We're actually number 2 lender in the country. Have all kinds of resources, support, always going to be latest and greatest with the new things out there. The technology's just unbelievable. And some of the stuff coming out with AI, you know, it's gonna evolve the whole industry. We have like our platform, someone's just applying for a pre-approval. The system can use AI to underwrite the file in a lot of cases, and those percentages are going up higher and higher. I mean, and there's some cases like there's 3 main things. There's verifying the income, verifying their assets, and then clearing everything on the credit. And right now, I think it's up to about 18% of the people applying. Right when they do pre-approval, if we get green check marks, the underwriter doesn't have to look at it. You know, so the company's always trying to improve speed and efficiency. And like every decision they make, they're trying to either make it easier for the LOs or the agents. You know, that's what kind of backs every decision they make. So
Good example that I took an application on Thursday night. And I just had my clear to close before I came over here.
Wow, that's good.
So of course it had an appraisal waiver, so that helps speed up the process, but just have everything done in that short of time frame. Now we're just checking with the title company, how quickly can they close? So
Big deal.
it's night and day from what we came from in the past. That's the
yeah, that same day mortgage is like the product name we use. I started that maybe like a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Basically what that does, we turn a file in, it meets certain criteria. It's about 95% of conventional financing can fall into that. Basically, it just skips the processing. The file gets turned right into the underwriter. They actually reach out to the client, talk to them and say, hey, give me this, this, and this, and they try to clear it to close within 24 to 48 hours. We can even do that on jumbos too. You know, I know we don't have a lot of jumbos in our market, but every once in a while you run into that. And we're definitely got the pricing competitive to where we can compete or beat pretty much everybody out there. But always open to ideas, how we can partner and support you. There's a lot of this fintech stuff coming out. Like right now, people can do HELOCs and personal loans and stuff from our app. And that's gonna be getting expanded to like loans for trailers that aren't real estate. If people want to do auto loans and stuff, it's not that we're gonna be out there selling those, but it's something that we're gonna be able to offer here within the fall. But that's so slick, like with a HELOC, somebody can find out what they qualify for literally in 2 minutes. And play around with what payment they want, rate, the amount, stuff like that. And they can close that night if they want to, and they just close electronically. We almost all of our closings, other than like the OFAs or the non-QM loans, stuff, we do the hybrids where they sign most of their docs electronically the morning of their closing. So there's way more paperwork from the title company than there is from us, and it really speeds up the closings and stuff. I don't know how many of you have 10-year closings, but we like to when we can. I don't know, I probably make about 30 or 40% of them, depending on where they're at, that sort of thing, but a lot of times these days with being able to do everything from your phone and stuff, it's the only time you get to meet your clients from our seats.
Right. I think that's about it. We just want to be your complete resource. We have all the products. If you have any questions on anything from conventional, the govies to reverse mortgages, we're closing one right now. So we can offer them all.
Yeah, and those DSCR, like that whole non-QM, we do those all in-house, so we securitize our own, we don't have to broker our own.
I need to get them.
appraisers, that sort of thing. Those DSCRs are really taken off for investors. And then there's like the 1 year self-employed, there's bank statement loans, there's anyone that kind of doesn't fit the box of conventional government loans. If they've got decent credit and a little bit of money down, there's probably something for them.
It's great.
All right.
We're excited to partner with you all.
All right.
Thank you, everyone. And to speak to the question that you haven't asked, but I'll answer, we're remaining in partnership with the lenders that we are already in partnership with. So CCM and KHL have continued to provide great service. And as we look at who our agents are closing business with, we're saying, hey, there's opportunity for us to kind of capture at a higher level with those that we have trust relationships with. So we're going to introduce another partner next month, Lord willing. And at the end of the day, your job is to provide the best experience possible for your people. But we partner with companies that do just that. So if you're not in a place where you've sat down with one of them or sent a second opinion to one of them, we'd encourage you to do so. And we're partnering with folks that we know provide good service for your people. So just a plug there for Keith, Brad, and those that we remain in partnership with. Rich, come on up. There you are. I'm used to.
Yeah, you got it hiding in the back.
Yeah.
I gotta balance the forehead light, so Mark and I don't blind you all. So, or sunglasses. For you, they're not gonna do me any good.
That's not.
MLS Now invoices, you guys all see that. When I log into the MLS, it shows we owe $56,000. So please pay your bills. Because otherwise you will be getting a contact from one of us.
We are not a bank.
Yeah, we are not a bank and we won't be paying that, but please do pay that $228 when you log into the MLS. It's very easy. You just click on pay now. I think you can even put your credit card on an auto billing cycle for the MLS. So if you haven't done that, please log in. You do have till September 8th. Do not wait. I talk to people all the time. They're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do it like the last day before, and then they forget. So we get the nasty grams from the MLS and the board, so please just pay it. It's easier than us tracking you down. So and then Star has a new green room. If you're not familiar with where Star is located, it's behind the old Sadie Renee's. That's our Stark Trumbull area realtors. They have a green room where they put in a desk, new carpeting. They've got like a tripod for your camera or whatever. They've got some lighting in there for you and a big green screen in the back. So if you are a member of Star, you can go there and use it. I highly recommend it. Just call the board and set up a time that you want to go over there. It's in a completely separate space than where you go into the board office. So you can go in there after hours, before the day starts or whatever. But it's a great new opportunity for you if you do have an opportunity for a green screen or a need for it, I should say.
Rich, I'm gonna ask you to not drift any further right than you already are for our friendly Zoomers.
Okay. And then Realtor Day is October 8th. That's the day that Star always has all of our amazing affiliates. They are going to host I forget what the theme is this year.
Villains and superpowers.
Thank you.
Ooh.
Villains and superpowers. So
Where
they
did you get Linda?
yeah.
Tell me.
I know Linda all so well that something almost slipped out of my mouth. I'm glad I didn't say it.
Let it go.
I feel like Barry's gonna be looped.
He's gonna be a villain, clearly.
Obviously.
Barry will be the
I
superhero,
love
right?
you, Rich.
So anyway, you can dress up, they will dress up, and when I say they are wonderful affiliates, they will dress up. They always have great prizes and different things. So I would say, even if you can't stay for the whole day in the continuing ed, it is just a great opportunity, I think, in the morning to go over there, talk to your fellow affiliates and realtors and see what they all offer. So that was just quick, short, to the point, because we've got a lot to go.
Yeah, Rich is gonna stay up here as we talk about mastering the art of home sale contingencies. How many of you have written on a listing in a contingent way or received an offer that was contingent? I'm assuming if you're doing business right now, you're seeing it.
If we would have asked this question last year, no hand would have gone.
Yeah, it was far
Right.
fewer, but we're seeing it a lot more, and Our goal is to always help you be as skill-based as possible. This little bar, I just need to keep moving it. Why does this matter? When there are fewer deals to go around, closing on the deals we have matters more. When affordability is as challenging as it is right now, which is a factor of a lot of things, not just interest rates, more and more buyers are in a situation where it's like, I can't just write an offer for this home in a non-contingent way. So we are seeing it a lot more, and for you to not be stumbling around in the dark as you're trying to do it right is important, both from a compliance standpoint, which Rich will talk through the forms in a minute, but also from a strategy standpoint. Rich, real quick, from a definition of terms before we dial into forms, can you define the difference between contingency and concurrency for?
Yeah, and I'll define them in two different ways. The concurrency is really where two properties at the same time are being offered for sale. So it's a property that maybe I, as the seller, have, and I want to buy Mark's property, but he's offering it for sale. They're both for sale concurrently at the same time and can be marketed active. Now, the forms dictate how you're going to use that, whether Mark is going to say, I will give you 60 days to sell your house and I won't sell my house to anybody else, or I am going to give you 60 days, but if I get another offer, a better offer, I can just take it. So technically, the way I like to say it is a concurrency is typically better for a seller and a contingency is better for a buyer, right? That is the easiest way to explain it so that you remember it. Now, they are interchangeable. You'll see on the form, there are certain things that are required for contingency and some required for concurrency. But the easiest way to remember it is one is good for the seller, one's good for the buyer.
So we're gonna do a quick walk through the two forms that are most tied to this. This is not formally a broker class, so curb your questions. And we'll do that. There we go. Okay, concurrency. Rich, takes it away.
All right, yeah, so the concurrency, again, that's where both properties are offered concurrently at the same time for sale. The buyer has said, I intend to buy this other property. We're gonna put them both up for sale. Hopefully I get an offer on my house before you get an offer on your house, because I want to buy your house. But let's just say, for example, I do not get an offer on my house. I'm the seller, I don't get an offer on my house, but Mark, I have an offer on his house and somehow he gets another offer on it. Mark does not have to come to me and say, Rich, you have 48 hours to perform. He doesn't have to say, we will give you 10 hours, 5 minutes, doesn't matter. He is allowed to accept another offer contingent upon the mutual release of the offer that we have together. And that's why it's better for the seller, because the seller can say, yes, I'm happy to accept your terms, but I'm still going to seek better terms. And if I find better terms, you're out. And that's the way that it works. Now, I will say to you, even though both forms, God bless you, say something about actively marketing the property for sale, that does not mean that you can leave it active in the MLS. If you are in MLS now territory and you accept a fully executed offer on your property, that's it. You have to mark it as contingent, I'm sorry, under contract, allow showings or not allow showings. One of the two. A lot of times people read this in the document that says actively market the property, and that means you think you can leave it active in the MLS. And I will tell you, I've gone to bat for this a million times. Even if you put in there and both the buyer and seller agree to leave the property on the market during the time that you have fully executed purchase agreement, it's not allowed. You
Okay.
will get in trouble for it.
That's an MLS rule.
It's an MLS rule.
Yeah.
And like I said, I've gone to bat a bazillion times. They're not changing it anytime soon that I'm aware of. So just know that if you try and leave it active, most likely the other agent, if they're educated, they're gonna turn you in and they're gonna say, you have to mark it under contract. So the best thing to tell you to do is if you have a concurrency offer where you're marketing two properties, maybe you're not marketing them, but both properties are for sale at the same time. And the one seller says, I do not want to put my property under contract in the MLS. Basically, you're not gonna have a fully executed purchase agreement.
Yeah.
That's the way it works. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and then contingency, or I'm sorry, concurrency, we're still on that one. The earnest money is deposited immediately, so you've got to be careful with that too. The document can say something different than what our purchase agreement says, something like the inspections, for example. Inspections, buyer acknowledges that any and all inspection periods required in the residential purchase agreement shall begin immediately upon acceptance of a binding purchase agreement of the buyer's property. But our purchase agreement says immediately upon acceptance of that offer, that contract. So you're gonna have to cross one of these out on the concurrency. It's either you are doing the inspections immediately upon Mark and I agreeing that he's gonna sell me his property, even though my property's for sale and doesn't have a contract on it yet, or I can cross that out on the purchase agreement and say, nope, we're gonna follow the contingency or concurrency addendum. We're gonna wait until I get an offer on my property. That's when my inspection period starts. And most of the time, that's what most buyers want, right? They don't wanna give their earnest money right away. They don't wanna do inspections. They don't wanna do appraisal. They don't wanna do any of that. But if you read the concurrency, it says that all of that stuff will start either at acceptance or upon acceptance of me getting an offer on my property as the buyer. So you gotta be careful. Any questions with that? I know we said curb your question.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to totally shut
No,
you
no, no,
down.
yeah.
Questions for Rich at this point. We're not gonna go line by line.
Right.
Was my main point,
Yeah.
but
Okay. Moving on.
They're scared.
see you when I. I'm sorry.
You'll think of it after.
Yeah.
After.
We'll
Alright.
save them for Thursday.
We'll
for you.
call Rich personally.
That's what I'm saying. You'll save it for after. It's fine. I missed my time with you guys. It's fine. And the house sale contingency, then we're used to seeing the contingency periods. I think the biggest question I get on this form is, as you go to the number of days on line 14, people are like, well, what does that mean if I'm gonna close on the property? Does that mean I get an offer on the property? Does that mean we actually have to close on it? It means you have to close on it. It says the sale of the property. So I would typically say that you're gonna have about 60 days in here for contingency period, because if you only put 30 days, the chances of me getting my house under contract and closed in 30 days, unless it's a cash offer, or maybe one of our amazing lenders that can close it in a couple days, you're not gonna do that. So oftentimes that can turn a seller off because they'll say, I don't wanna take my house off the market for 60 days. I have to mark it under contract in the MLS. How many of us, by a show of hands, how many of you actually show a property to your buyer that's under contract, allow showings in the MLS? Not one
Pretty
person in the
rare.
entire,
Yeah.
right?
It's him, but it's very rare.
Right, it's very rare. So when you get an offer as the listing agent that's contingent, you've got to have that conversation with your sellers, because I would say probably 99% of agents are not showing a property that's under contract allow showings. It's not even coming up on the search on some of the websites for syndication. Some it does show pending or whatever. So that's the only thing I would tell you is be careful, but you've got to have that number of days in there. That means that they're going to close on their property in that specific number of days. Now, you can always do an extension, you can move things up, but on the first offer, that's what that means. Let's see if there's anything else in there. Oh, yeah, I think the biggest thing in here is the secondary offers lines 21 through 30. If your buyer says to you, I cannot purchase this new property without selling my existing home. I can't get a HELOC, I can't get a bridge loan, I don't have money in my 401k, I don't have anything. It really doesn't make sense to have this in there, lines 21 through 30, because they can't. The bump clause is what I've heard it called too, is if I have zero capacity as the buyer to get different financing in a contingency period, there's no reason for a seller to come back to me and say, hey, Rich, I'm giving you 48 hours to perform. I'm telling you now, I can't perform. So there's really no reason. You might as well cross that out or use the concurrency side of the addendum, because the contingency is only going to tie the house up. It doesn't mean the seller still can't get another offer and make your buyer perform. Unless you cross that out 100% and everybody agrees, we're locked into a contingency period and the seller doesn't have the opportunity to accept another offer during that period. So again, these addendums are written to give you options for your buyers. It is not meant that every application fits every client. Things you might have to cross out. Okay. Good. Okay. We didn't do it during gratitude, but I will say, I am gonna say that for all of you guys call with amazing questions, and I have to say, I'm very surprised at the amount of questions lately that you guys have asked when you say, something doesn't feel right, this isn't right. You guys are typically on the right space and know that something isn't right to protect your clients, and it's the other agents, not from our brokers, that are trying to get you to do something that you're like, this just doesn't make sense, or I'm not protecting my client. So I will say, in gratitude for all of you, call with questions. That's what I am here for, and you are doing a great job of protecting your consumers.
Yeah.
So, yeah, golf club.
Golf
right.
club. Rich, just to put you on the spot here, I know that like, if I'm representing the seller, marking it under contract allow showings effectively means we're done showing, people aren't gonna be coming through. That's been my personal experience, and you guys reflected that. If a seller says, can we just do everything but execute the contract? Kind of, we're working it out in terms, but we're saying we still want to market it actively. Like, how would you encourage us to handle that conversation?
Well, you can't have a fully executed purchase agreement is at the end of the day. I mean, that's the short answer.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you can't write it up. It doesn't mean that your buyer can't sign it and leave it open. Maybe your buyer will say, my offer is good for 30 days.
Sure.
And if the seller signs it, so like on our acceptance section in the purchase agreement, instead of putting 24 hours or 2 hours to get that offer accepted right away, you might put 30 days in there. You could say, I'm going 30 days out. My offer is good for that amount of time. And if any time that the seller signs it during that period, you have a fully executed purchase agreement, then you'd be okay. That's the way I would say to do it, but it's hard to find a seller that's willing to say, let me go ahead and lock up my property and not have it shown. There's
Yeah.
just a disconnect there. People are like, I'm happy to accept your terms, but I also want to actively sell my property.
Yeah.
And that's the disconnect.
Everything but executed.
Everything but executing
Yeah.
on behalf of the seller. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Other questions for Rich? Maybe we'll call him with them as you have them, but.
Yeah, that's good. All right,
Cool.
Then I'll sit
Thanks,
down.
Rich.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you.
Yep.
Chris Lynch, to continue the conversation, obviously having a quality lender in your corner, helping you understand your options matters. So Chris, as you walk with buyers and your team walks with buyers in situations like this, where's your head at? How do you think about these things?
Honestly, it's based upon whatever the buyer is comfortable with. So like, I mean, I have a number of contingencies happening right now. But like either we're using a bridge loan, we're using a HELOC to where like they can close regardless. But if they tell me, kind of like Rich was saying, that like, hey, I'm not comfortable with this, and then they also need to communicate that to their agent, because then at that point, it doesn't really matter what I think, what the agent thinks is based upon what the client is willing to accept. But we have two different bridge loans that are like, we have three, but we primarily use two. And then we also have three different HELOC options. Now, the HELOCs are different for us because they technically need to be established before the home is actually listed on the market. When the home is listed on the market, you no longer have access to it.
Mhm.
So that pre-approval, all of that like consultation needs to happen, and they would need to make a decision. I will just be transparent and say that I had a client 2 months ago who said, I don't want to do a HELOC. I'm not really sure about a bridge loan. And they waited until they found their house, and they put their house on the market the same day. And then they said, I want a HELOC instead of a bridge loan. Well, nope, it doesn't work that way. You had your time, you had your choices, kind of like talking to my kids. So you made your choice, and this is where we are. But they ended up doing a bridge loan, and it worked out just fine. And they were able to pay the bridge loan back literally within like a month.
I'm brand new to real estate. Explain to me how your favorite bridge loan product works for a client that's looking to do this.
My favorite is that you actually can do it as long as you have 15 days. So they require 12 days from start to finish. And it is from that timeline, but then there's also a 3-day rescission. So, which happens on any sort of cash out. So you have 3 days, kind of like your normal CD timeline, where they can say yes or no. But 12 days from start to finish, they do a desktop appraisal, very simple, easy thing to do. They give them a few different ways to look at it. They will give them up to 80% LTV in their current home, but they only allow you to put a down payment of up to 50% towards the new purchase.
Okay.
And then they give them 6 months to sell their house, and if their house has not sold in 6 months, they offer them a cash offer, and then they relist it with the agent who already had the listing. So that way, whatever terms you had agreed on, that doesn't change, except for that the bridge loan company is essentially your client. Now, if there's any excess funds that are left over after closing, that does go back to the seller. And it's very easy. That's why it's like one of my favorites, because then they also don't have a payment for that 6 months. So they no principal, interest, taxes, or insurance. They basically kind of collect that 6 months worth up front. If they don't have a mortgage on the property currently, then they're just going to take 6 months of taxes and insurance. And it's just really simple.
Scott's got a question for you.
So regarding the HELOC, because of timing of listing the home, how long does it usually take to close a HELOC?
7 days after, well, it can take 5 to 7. But again, it's a desktop appraisal, very simple. We have the two that we use most. One is a variable rate, the other one's a fixed rate. So, but they would have a payment on it. So that has to be factored in compared to a bridge loan. There is no payment and you could exclude the current mortgage or taxes and insurance.
Do you do HELOCs on investment properties?
Yes, up to 75% LTV.
75 for investment, 80% for primary.
Yes.
Any other questions? Sam?
What's the approximate percentage of the fee for bridge loans? I know it's not just like free.
Correct. So it can,
We pay.
so it's anywhere, it really does depend on, because they're gonna go off of the list price of the house. So they can take up to two,
The cost of bond.
so the house that they're gonna sell, like, because you're doing a bridge loan against their current home. Yes, so they will charge up to 2.25%. And so,
On the purchase or on the valve?
oh, no, on the list price.
Okay.
And so they give them, for most people who are well off enough to where like it makes sense. Like I have one right now. Their house is worth probably 7. And now they listed it competitively, so they listed it at 639. And so like they want it to sell. He found his dream home. He's a young guy, like he doesn't really care, and he didn't pay for his house. So
It's me, guys.
so he wanted to sell, he found his dream house with all the land, so the fee that he is being charged is $11,000. However, he also does not have to make a payment on that house anymore. He is told, like, he asked if he could just sell them for the cash price that they offered him. And I was like, no, like, that's just not a smart decision. But he's ready and like excited to move forward onto his new property. So like at that, he's not upset about it. Where you find clients who are on the fence who do get upset is if they don't really have a ton of equity to play with. So like if they haven't been in their home for a long time, or if whatever they're buying, they need every single penny. And in that case, we would plan ahead of time and you're doing the HELOC.
Cool.
Any other questions? All right,
Appreciate it.
thanks.
I think one takeaway, is if you have a buyer client who owns a home and they're saying, I can't buy unless I do this, you say, tell me how you know that. Let me connect you with a quality lender that can help you better understand your options, just because, yeah, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, that part of it is really helpful, just because a lot of times what a buyer or a client, what they think is their financial picture is not always the case.
Yeah.
Because they're also going off of what their net is, and like they know like how much they spend on eating out and all these other things, and so like most people do not know how to put together a proper budget. And because of that, they don't know that, hey, like, you're looking at my gross income. I don't care how much you eat out. I don't care how many date nights you go on. But if I give you a plan and I share the numbers with you, and if you are okay with the numbers, then we can move forward. If there's hesitation or anything like that, then that's where we kind of step back and say, like, what is your real concern here? And can you make any sacrifices to say that you can still say yes to this house and this process, or do we need to wait?
The consultative conversation, absolutely. Chris, I love those shorts. I don't think my complexion would work with that, but I wish. I might try next month. I might try. Gina, come on up. So, Gina and I are gonna talk a little bit more about just scenarios. And some of these may hit with what you guys have run to, but I have 6 different scenarios that folks can run into as it relates to contingency. So, issue number 1, buyer makes an offer contingent on selling their home. Gina, talk us through that.
Yeah, so obviously, it's gonna depend on a lot of things. If the seller's just listed on the market, it might feel a little bit different than if they're on the market for 30+ days.
Right.
And or heck, sometimes even 2 weeks right now, they're freaking out a little bit about it. So the first thing that obviously we recommend that you do is have the other agent. I just got this question over the weekend actually from an agent. How do I know that their house is under contract, or that it's even listed, or if it's listed for the right price? All of that's gonna happen in the communication with the listing agent and the buyer's agent. So you wanna make sure that you can ask for, well, I guess this might be a question for Rich, I hope I answered it correctly. Can we get a copy of the executed purchase agreement from the buyer's agent on the house that they say is under contract to move forward on our,
You can always ask.
Contingent on
if they
closing.
say no, right?
but can they show that, or do they just have to show page one? Like I said, show us page one of the purchase agreement.
Yeah, I mean, if you get something, that's the proof you're looking
Yeah.
for, right?
Yeah.
It's page one. Now, if you wanna know if there's any other contingencies, you've gotta ask that question, cause I've seen where there's. Somebody selling in North Carolina and their house is contingent upon somebody else's house selling it, but we didn't know that.
You can't have contingencies upon contingencies, we wanna make sure we're clear of that. But also, if it's just listed and not sold, we have the right to go and do a CMA and say, is this house priced properly? So I'm gonna, tell my seller here, yes, this might be a good one because they just listed, looks like they've got it priced right, they're posting and open this weekend, they seem to be marketing the property. Another thing that we could do is ask for a non-refundable earnest money. Or making terms around earnest money, but clear about the non-refundable earnest money. That gets written out to the seller, not to the title company. And you need to make sure that you go into the purchase agreement and change everything across every place off that it talks about the earnest money. Because if you're agreeing to it in additional terms, it doesn't mean you don't go into it and change it every place. And there's a paragraph where it says that the buyer gets their earnest money back. So make sure you do that.
Because I've never done that with the non-refundable. If. But you go through, they do the non-refundable, does it still count towards their down payment or no?
Well, I mean, the seller is only gonna get it, I mean, I guess they are giving it to the seller, so no, right?
Well, it still counts as a credit at closing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It
Okay,
still counts.
it's
as
showing up
credit.
on the settlement sheet.
It doesn't matter.
You have the lender in the back of the room.
I was just going to say that, yes, like if the transaction goes through, then what? Sometimes what you can see happen is that like, you just have to be able to show proof on. Like the buyer's transaction history on their accounts that it matches, so if it's $2,000, that check cleared, even though it wasn't given to title. You get a copy of the canceled check and then it would also show on title, like, final CD. Then it can be accounted for. If that can't be paper trail, then no.
It's like verifying earnest money, same principle.
okay.
I actually almost did have a seller, like I was representing the buyer and we had non-refundable earnest money down as for vacant land for a subdivision. And so it's kind of a unique situation, but the seller at closing, like once we got our closing disclosures, did not realize that the non-refundable earnest money deposit was a credit toward the purchase price. They thought it was above and beyond. Yeah, and so they almost didn't close because of it.
And it depends on how you write it too, so like I've seen people do this where. The seller only gets the non-refundable earnest money if we don't close by blank deadline or other conditions like that. So it really has to be spelled out. I recently had someone put that the seller gets the earnest money if we don't close, and then every 5 days, something else happens. So lots of crazy details like that with the contingencies.
Yeah, Amanda?
Somebody on Zoom is saying, Paulette says, so we should write that in receipt of earnest money deposit required.
So you need to make clear where it's going.
Yeah.
There's no-
Within how much time and to where it's going,
Yeah.
and.
Yeah.
One keynote when you're working with buyers that are gonna be contingent in some form or fashion, it's kind of like don't go get a car loan conversation, like, hey. Is if you find a house tomorrow, can we market your home the next day? Like, let's start doing the pre-listing stuff.
Well,
Just-
setting those expectations with your clients ahead of time is always gonna make things go smooth.
Yes, to show that listing agent, hey, we're ready, like, our photographer is coming tomorrow, once we have this executed, we're not playing around here, as opposed to like, oh, I guess we should mulch,
Which leads us to our next one, which is
Yep.
buyer's home not yet listed.
that creates delays before listing, market timing risk, so, actually Cassandra's mom ran into a situation recently in New York, where like, the market changed one weekend. And they got multiples, and then that first one didn't come through, and then it was like, where did all the buyers go? And we're beginning to see that in different pockets here, and so when your buyer takes their sweet time, not only is it frustrating for the seller that's trying to get their work done, but like the market could change for in ways that would impact the sale of both of theirs. So
Which also depends on the season too. So like, as we get closer into the fall and winter months, that can change a little bit.
yeah, so as we said, pre-list the home before making an offer, stage and prep home in advance, like anything that they can do to be ready to go. This is still a seller's market, and so going live, the sellers still have a little bit more say than buyers do, though that's beginning to soften. Isn't a bad idea, and as we've discussed, bridge or HELOC products can go a long way in helping that to be a non-issue. All right, the buyer's home is listed, but there's no offers yet. Hey, we've done our due diligence, but no offers yet. Gina, talk us through this one.
Yeah, so, on the behalf of the listing agent who's accepted that contingent offer, I would be in serious communications with the buyer's agent / listing agent of a plan in place for price reductions and other things that they're doing to get that property sold. Because again, how long do we really want to rely on somebody else's house? And it's the weirdest thing right now with houses. I'm sure you're all experiencing this. Who knows which one's gonna go for 60,000 over asking price in 2 days, and then the other one that should have sold is sitting there with no showing, so it's just weird. So I would make sure that you have conditions in your contract that you can have that kind of control over. Let's set a plan in motion. If we accept your offer and you don't have activity or an offer within blank number of days, then you're gonna slowly start doing price reductions.
Yes, Nick Rock was on a panel at Summer Mastermind several weeks back, did a great job. But it was what sellers want, and it wasn't just about pricing it right. It was being able to show we've got a plan if it's not under contract right away. What does communication look like? What moves are we ready to make? And good listing agents need to be kind of adaptive, not just, hey, let's find the right price and hope the market
Well,
responds.
and if the buyer, the bottom line is always this, how much do you want the house that you're asking the seller to take your contingent offer? If you don't want it, that's an option.
Yeah.
Go sell your house and come back.
Right.
Weird thing happens though, they never do.
Mm.
I don't know why they don't, but they don't. So that's why I always tell my sellers in those situations, the positive accepting the contingent offer is this buyer is gonna get disinterested now because we didn't accept their contingency, and for whatever reason, they could go and sell their house next weekend and they've moved on, and that's certainly a risk.
Yep.
Uh,
Or,
Buyer's home is under a contract.
so risk point, the first buyer's financing or inspection falls through, so they're, the sale of their home is in question. Continuing to show the home until contingencies are removed, as we've discussed. It's hard to get many showings when you don't, when it's marked as under contract. Negotiate bumpable status in the MLS. Again, you want to make sure that you're following MLS rules there, but hey, if we get a different offer, this can go out. They're more likely to accept a bumpable offer. We acknowledge that we'll get kicked out if another one comes in. But again, make sure that you're following MLS rules there.
Another option on that one too, and I've had this happen. If you know it's a hot house and for whatever reason their buyer, something fell apart with their financing for some reason. You could always just extend the contingency period and give them enough time to get back under contract again.
Yes,
Like that's all still an option.
yes, absolutely. All right, timing alignment between sale and purchase. Closing dates don't match, gap in possession. How do we handle that?
Well, a couple things on that would be ideally if you're using the same title company, that aligns things much better. Somehow I've never had a transaction where someone's actually like homeless in between. So we can, finagle the close dates and possession dates so that they can line up, but you really have to have a plan in order. So if my buyer or my seller is selling their house and they're also buying from me, and we hopefully go under contract within the same period of time, you have to be able to negotiate possession for your seller, so that way it can line up. Strangely, I've never had one not line up. I don't know how it happens. Yeah, right. It seems to always work out, but because you're prepping them though, too. I feel like you really have to make sure you're setting those expectations right. And then when you're negotiating, in particular the listing, that you're allowing enough time for possession. But then you can't give the buyer or the seller of the house they're buying possession to.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of factors.
I'm gonna jump in for a second,
Yeah.
to kind of share,
Yeah.
because we actually did have a situation where the agents somehow it did not line up the dates. And the buyer was gonna be homeless because they had to sell their house before they get the other one. So it is very important, and I would recommend that you guys use the replacement property addendum that we have in dot loop, because if you don't use that replacement property addendum to make your accepted offer contingent upon the closing of the seller's house, somebody's gonna be homeless at some point in time, just because I made an offer on Gina's house, but I didn't put in the offer on my house that I have to close or get an accepted offer on Gina's house. I could end up putting myself homeless because I don't have that reverse contingency, if you will, in my agreement. And we've seen that happen before where that form wasn't used and people are like, oh, my deal fell through, exactly what you guys are talking about, but I'm still obligated to buy this property and yet I can't get mine sold. So that you've got to make sure that you're using that. You will make somebody homeless, and it has happened. Almost. We got it sorted out, but it almost happened. So especially when you're dealing with out of state people. You know, to Gina and Mark's point where they were talking about, if you've got somebody in North Carolina or South Carolina selling their house and they're moving up here, you haven't contacted that agent to find out what's
So
contained in
important,
that purchase agreement, and taking the buyer's word for it, never a good idea. The buyer will be like, oh yeah, no, those times work out just great for me. Do they? Let's check with the agent.
Yeah.
So that's my thing I'd say.
Yeah, no, that's a great add. And then finally, closing day, one deal delays, creating a domino effect. As Gina mentioned, having the same title company manage both is the most ideal situation because the escrow teams are gonna be in conversation with one another. You got a question?
Nope.
Oh, you just said
Did
right.
I look, oh,
Yeah.
sorry, yes, I do actually have a question, thank you. What's the name of that form in dot loop?
Replacement property addendum. Correct? So yeah, same title company, funding early, pre-signing all documents, again, talk with your lender and title to make sure you're doing things properly there. Yeah, Scott.
One other thing I would say as we deal with these, we've convinced people the importance of starting and doing the inspections. We know you may lose that money, but it makes everything look better to the parties involved, the sellers and buyers, to know, yes, and we've already moved past any of the contingencies on inspections and stuff. So some people wanna wait, well, I don't wanna pay for that if I'm not gonna get that. So you explain to them the risks and why it might be better to get both parties involved by having those things done.
That's a great point. That's a great point. Cool. I think that's what we had here. Thank you, Gina. I appreciate it. I'd love, like, at the end of the year, if we have like a KW Legacy, like a 12 deal domino where you guys just all like orchestrate a master play. American Title Solutions is dialed in, one of our lenders is making it all go. But this skill matters and again, keep Rich in your corner as you're navigating these more delicate situations to help our clients through. Amanda, come on up.
Oh, no. Oh, no, I really don't wanna sneeze. That was the
So I'm gonna make this really brief. Hi, everybody. So if you haven't heard by now, Canva and KW are going to be collabing. Very exciting. From what I know, you will be getting pro accounts. Those
Free.
pro what?
For free.
Yep. I'm trying not to say too many things. It's supposed to have branding kits in there, lots of different templates, like the just sold, that kind of thing. I'm not supposed to say, but I'm not a great listener, so what the heck? I have a hunch that in the next couple weeks, it will be coming out. I believe it's gonna be in a slow rollout format, so meaning it's not all totally gonna be ready to go, but slowly it will become what the vision is. One of the things is MLS integration that I'm super excited about. So if you do use designs currently in Canva, you can use the MLS integration where it'll swap the photos for you. So I'm imagining something like that, but I don't know for sure. If any of this is inaccurate, please don't be mad at me. But you had a question?
Do you go through the actual Canva app or command?
Don't know yet.
Okay.
I'm assuming the Canva app for now, because designs are not going away at this moment. But what I would do, my vision would be yes, that will be happening, but I don't know for sure.
I
I'm
imagine you'd be
operating
able to
on-
find it on Marketplace in Command if I had a hunch and then pull it over.
We'll see. I'm operating on very little information, but do sense that things are coming. So with that being said, because I do have a hunch something's going to be happening soon, I'm going to do a class early September and we're gonna start
hopefully I have stuff that's already in there and ready to play with, but if not, we're gonna just do a beginner's class. We'll see. Either way, we're talking Canva on that day at that time. I'm gonna do it on Zoom, I think. Maybe. We'll see. The reaction I just got means maybe we're doing it in person.
Maybe both.
So for those of us that pay for Canva.
Mhm.
Have they had conversations with Canva that they will either refund us or
I
do
don't,
anything like,
I don't think you're
Annualized
gonna,
Membership.
yeah.
I think Lynette looked into that, and I think you have to wait till your year is up. You can still get it free, but your account you can't cancel early.
yeah, they were encouraging people to do the monthly plan.
Well,
Uh,
I didn't know about that.
yeah.
Information I could have used.
Yeah, they were.
Next year.
I think this, like, we heard a little rumblings like 2 months after I had already paid
Yeah.
my year.
Yeah.
So,
My sense would be no.
Yeah.
But I don't know anything yet. I do know they're working on a way to get your designs out of your current account and into your new one. So I'm assuming I'm gonna have more answers on that, but I'm working on very little.
So
So
we have like new login information.
working on very little. But when I have answers, I promise we'll talk about it more. September 4th.
Progress over perfection. Yeah, thank you, Amanda.
Yep.
Alrighty. We're doing our giveaway, and Ashley or Cassandra, can you tell me what we're giving away this month? Tell us.
Well,
But actually.
Oh, so it's either, it's really dependent on you, you can choose, for like a back to school.
is everybody getting one of these?
If you sold a home.
You
So
sold
close-
home
close-
this month, right?
And then if you don't have children or don't want like a back to school gift card, you do also have the option for any water park if you're choosing.
What am I putting on here again?
We have one, so.
Number? Let me do some-
Can't go over the.
How can we do this without this?
I'm not gonna step on your foot again. I worry so much about
So good. I wanna leave. It might be muscle.
Alright, 1 through 284.
And it's the closest without going over.
Closest without busting. Andy, keep an eye on chat.
Oh, what, okay.
Alright, it's closest without going over.
Oh, snap.
Alright. Here we go, big money, 239.
201. Is anybody closer than 201 in the chat?
Wow.
All right. Miss Holmes.
There we go.
Nice.
Alright, we're almost there. Alright, just a couple other final announcements and then we'll break for lunch. Hang with me for just another minute. Our Legacy Group Cares Kevin Lee Memorial Golf outing is coming up on Friday, September 5th. So that's what, 4 weeks, 3.5 weeks? This is the classic calm before the storm where it's like, no one's registered. And then everybody gets registered. So if you're one of those no ones, get yourself registered. Yes, Mercedes.
Even if you don't golf, come and pay for the dinner and then just come hang out with everyone. It's
It's
a lot of fun.
great time, right? There's
Yeah.
gonna be a game on the practice putting green. American Title Solutions is bringing a coffee truck, which I'm super excited about. Forgo my morning cup in anticipation. get there first, and it's gonna be a great way for us to give back and pour into the fund that has helped many of us over the years. You've gotten an email like once a week for the last couple of months, so if you're uncertain about where to register, that QR code will work. Or search Kevin Klee in your emails and you will find it. But I'm excited about it.
I just wanna mention, they didn't say anything, so if you guys know any business or anything that may sponsor, they don't have to be real estate related, it can be anybody. Share that with them, so they can be a sponsor or golf in it too.
Yep.
Anything to raise money.
There's different tiers, and we'd love to.
Auction items.
Yep.
Make donations.
Yeah, you wanna talk about baskets?
Yes, and typically, I mean, the Duttons are gonna do the auction and it's always a good time and raise a lot of money and so. Typically baskets, you know, doesn't have to be golf related. We've had liquor baskets, we've had pasta baskets, we've had all sorts of things, so.
Yeah, if you're not able to participate that day, but want to contribute in some way, that's a great way to do it.
Yeah.
My backyard is nice and hacked up with my pitching wedge right now. We have like a big berm and then it's like Hobby Lobby on the other side of the berm and stuff, just like, I can't hit it that far and. Situation back there. Was there a question? Did I see a hand? Alright.
I do wanna say, for the people on Zoom and a question in the chat, asking if it's a great question. Do you have to be with a team to register or will a single person be put with a team golf partner? Mike, can you answer that? I know you like this question.
Email Mike Crum.
Yeah, so the short answer is yes, sign up. The website won't allow you to do it, so you can just make a checkout here and then we can do our best. There you go. With others as we find out.
It's okay to give them your number too, so they can talk to you about it.
Yes, correct.
Mike, what's your number?
330-309-5296.
5-2 what? Now everybody's got it
It's
memorized.
gonna be a great day. The weather's gonna be great. I just know it. Know it. Someone got their marker on my Zoom. I don't know how you did that. Next, so our September team meeting, we have two traditions that go with that. One is if you're into football, wear your favorite football team's jersey or just a football team's jersey. And then we're also gonna be doing our chili cook-off, which is the winner will go and represent us at the Star Chili Cook-Off, which is 2 weeks after that. So you'll get more emails about that, but get your cauldrons going. I know Scott's jonesing to break through this year. And so that'll be next team meeting next month. One thing that wasn't here, you've gotten an email about it, but our August Education Day, spearheaded by our education committee, is on Tuesday, August 26th. Back to school theme. We're gonna get a CE sponsored by American Title Solutions, talking about POAs, estates, trusts, etc. By an attorney who talks fast but knows her stuff.
Be ready, you guys.
And then we're gonna hear from Todd Dawkins Hawk. Talk about the Stark County housing study for us to be better grounded in what's happening in our community and how we can better serve our prospective clients. So that morning, we'll have a sponsored lunch as well. Please RSVP because we do sponsor lunch and having numbers for that helps significantly. So with that, speaking of lunches, let's go. Boom, noon. All right, NC. Thank you all for being here and good food.